They say power reveals the heart, but sometimes it hides what a broken man cannot. In the city of Verdant Heights, where towers gleam and people walk fast enough to outrun empathy, a forgotten man walked into the lobby of a billion-dollar empire. Ragged clothes, muddy boots, a smell no perfume could cover. He didn't belong. At least, that's what everyone thought. Especially the man who built the empire, Damon Crane, the ruthless CEO of Crane Tech Global. What Damon didn't know was that the man he humiliated that morning wasn't who he seemed. And by the time he found out, everything he thought he owned was already slipping through his fingers. The storm hadn't let up for days. Cold, unrelenting, puddles swallowed the city sidewalks. Inside the lobby of Crane Tech Global, marble floors sparkled under golden chandeliers. Executives in tailored suits swept in, glancing at their phones, sipping lattes. But then the illusion shattered. A man walked in, wet, muddy, and shivering. His coat hung in tatters. His beard was unkempt. A faded duffel bag rested on his shoulder. "Security," someone called. "There's a situation." Receptionist Emily barely made eye contact as she whispered into her headset. "Yeah, we got a vagrant in the lobby." The man stood still, silent. His eyes scanned the place, not with confusion, but familiarity, like someone remembering an old song. Then came the footsteps. Sharp, measured, powerful. Damon Crane descended from a glass elevator, like a king surveying his kingdom. Mid-40s, salt and pepper hair slicked back, expensive navy suit hugging his tall frame. "What is this?" he barked. "Why is there a homeless man in my lobby?" The room froze. No one dared answer. The man, still dripping from the rain, met Damon's gaze and smiled. Damon's voice cut through the marble lobby like a whip. "I said get him out of here." Security guards hesitated. Something about the man made them uneasy. He didn't resist. He didn't yell. He just stood there. Then he spoke. "I remember when this lobby didn't have marble floors," he said softly. Damon blinked. "What did you say?" The man looked around, as if addressing the room. There used to be concrete. No chandeliers. Just exposed wiring and a single desk back when this company was still being built. Murmurs rippled through the lobby. Employees paused mid-step. "Who the hell are you?" Damon demanded, stepping closer. "I told you before, Damon," the man said, his voice low but firm. "I built this." The room went dead silent. Damon's eyes narrowed. "Get him out," he growled. "Now!" The guards grabbed the man roughly. Still, he didn't resist. As they dragged him toward the door, he turned his head and said just loud enough for Damon to hear, "You're sitting on borrowed power, and the one who loaned it just walked out." That night, Damon paced his office like a caged wolf. He couldn't shake the man's face from his memory. There was something in those eyes, something ancient. He poured himself a drink, then called Rick Mason, his head of security and longtime confidant. Run a facial recognition check on the guy from this morning. Rick hesitated. "You really want to dig into that? He looked like he crawled out of the subway." "I don't care if he crawled out of the sewer. Something's off. Find him." Within minutes, the system was humming. The security cameras had caught a full image. Rick squinted at the screen, then frowned. "Boss, this is weird." "What?" "He's not coming up in any recent records. No driver's license, no arrests, no address. But he's in the archives." Damon leaned over his shoulder and froze. The picture on the screen was from 1995. "Who is he?" Damon demanded. Rick's voice was low. "Jeremiah Quinn, one of the original investors in Crane Tech, from back when it was just a patent in a garage." Damon's breath caught. "Dead," Rick continued. "Presumed dead. Disappeared over 20 years ago." Damon's face went pale. And suddenly, the storm outside didn't seem so loud. The next morning, Damon arrived at work early. He couldn't sleep. He locked himself in the conference room and opened the oldest files he could find, the founding documents. There it was. Jeremiah Quinn, co-founder, seed investor, chief innovator. He'd almost been erased from the company's history. Almost. Damon remembered the early days now. Vaguely. He was still an intern when Jeremiah walked away. Rumors said he had a breakdown after his wife died. Left everything behind. Crane Tech wouldn't exist without him. But now he was back and living on the streets. Damon slammed the folder shut. No, he wasn't going to let a ghost from the past unravel everything. He was Damon Crane now. He built this empire. He made it what it is. And no washed-up has-been was going to threaten that. But outside on the city streets, Jeremiah was already making quiet visits. To lawyers, to banks, and to someone Damon had forgotten all about, his late father's oldest friend. 2 days later, during a board meeting, a document slid across the table to Damon. The headline made his heart stop. Petition for Founding Rights Restoration. Quinn versus Crane Tech. What is this? He snapped. The CFO cleared his throat. We were served this morning. Sir, it seems Mr. Quinn is seeking to reclaim ownership of a portion of the company under legacy contract provisions. Damon's voice rose. That's impossible. He vanished. He was presumed dead. The legal advisor spoke up. Yes, but technically, he was never declared legally deceased. And according to the original founding documents, if he reappears and can prove identity, his shares were never dissolved. How many shares? An executive asked. A long pause. 37%. A hush fell over the room. Damon stood up so fast his chair toppled. No one says a word of this outside this room. Do you understand me? But it was already too late, because downstairs, a new receptionist had unknowingly told a reporter. Yeah, there was this homeless guy last week. Apparently he used to own the place. And in the world of billion-dollar headlines, that was gold. Rain. Always rain lately. Damon stared out of his corner office window, watching rivulets of water trace chaotic paths down the glass. The city felt different now. Suspicious. Watching him. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He ignored it. Then it buzzed again. Same number. This time, he answered. A voice came through. Calm. Weathered. You forgot who built the walls you now hide behind. Damon nearly dropped the phone. Jeremiah, you were just a kid when I met you. Hungry. Ambitious. I like that. That's why I let your father convince me to back this place. What do you want? I want what's mine. You want revenge. Jeremiah chuckled. No, Damon. I want justice. And sometimes they look the same. Click. Tech Kingpin faces founding dispute with presumed dead partner. The story hit the financial blogs first. Then Reddit. Then the New York Ledger. By noon, CNN and Bloomberg were calling Crane Tech's PR department nonstop. Investors got jumpy. Stocks dipped 3%. But the real damage came from within. At the executive lunch table, whispers swirled. Is it true he never declared Jeremiah legally dead? I heard Jeremiah still has the old patent codes. Think he's after a buyout? No. This smells like a hostile takeover. Damon sat alone in his office, every word leaking through the cracks like water through a dam. And downstairs, Jeremiah wasn't yelling. He was waiting, and the world had started to listen. At 2 a.m., Damon returned home to his luxury penthouse. He poured scotch with shaking hand, then stared at the wall where an old photo hung, a black and white snapshot from Crane Tech's earliest days. 5 young men in an empty garage, all smiles. One of them, Jeremiah, had his hand on Damon's shoulder. He remembered that day. Jeremiah had just paid for their first round of servers out of pocket. No paperwork. No fanfare. You'll be great someday. Jeremiah had told him. Damon had believed him. Then years later, after Jeremiah's breakdown, he buried those memories just like he buried the man. But now, they were back, and they wanted something. Jeremiah sat quietly on a bench in Central Park. His coat was cleaner now, his beard trimmed. Beside him sat Amira Wells, one of the city's most feared corporate attorneys. I've reviewed the documents. They're solid, she said. Jeremiah nodded. I knew Damon wouldn't shred them. He's too careful, too arrogant. She smiled. You sure you don't want to settle? Jeremiah looked at the kids playing on the grass. No, This isn't about money. It's about what happens when you forget people aren't disposable. She scribbled a note. You're not the same man who walked into that lobby last week. He gave a sad smile. That's because last week, I didn't want to fight. He looked up. But now I remember why I should. Crane Tech's annual shareholder summit. Hundreds of attendees. Live streamed to thousands more. Damon took the stage, grinning like nothing was wrong. Then a shadow entered the auditorium. A man in a tailored gray coat. Clean shoes. Straight shoulders. Gasps spread like wildfire. Is that Jeremiah Quinn? Cameras clicked. Damon saw him from the stage and froze mid-sentence. Jeremiah didn't speak, didn't shout. He just sat in the front row and waited. Damon tried to continue his speech, but every word sounded hollow. And in that silence, Jeremiah's presence screamed louder than any headline. 1999, Crane Tech Garage Lab. Jeremiah sat across from young Damon, drawing circuits on a napkin. Never forget why we're building this, Jeremiah said. For the future? Damon replied. No, Jeremiah smiled. For the people. The single mother trying to save time. The student needing better tools. People, Damon, not profits. Damon nodded, but his eyes drifted to the corner where Forbes magazine sat, with a cover headline, Silicon Empire, the men who made billions. In a high-rise office across town, Eleanor Park, a senior board member, called an emergency meeting. I want to vote, she said. If Quinn proves his claim, we must recognize it. The company's integrity depends on it. Half the board nodded. The others hesitated. Damon's been a great leader, one said. But leadership isn't ownership, Eleanor replied coldly. And just like that, cracks formed in Damon's fortress, and the pieces started to slide. Only one man still stood by Damon, Leo Brennan, his childhood friend and CFO. You can fight this, Leo said. Find a clause, a back door. But Damon just stared out the window. What if he's right? He asked quietly. Leo stiffened. Since when do you doubt yourself? Damon turned, eyes haunted. Since the day I looked in the mirror and saw my father staring back. A courier delivered it in a plain envelope. Damon opened it alone in his study. Inside was a handwritten letter. Damon, you once said I was the closest thing to a father you had. But I never wanted a son who would build something this cold. I believed in you. That belief helped create an empire. But belief, like power, has limits. And today mine has run out. You have 7 days to return what belongs to me, or I'll take it with the truth. JQ. Damon stared at the city lights that night. 100,000 windows gleamed like stars, but none of them made him feel less alone. 7 days. That's what Jeremiah gave him. 7 days before everything came undone. And somewhere deep inside, Damon wasn't sure if he was going to stop it, because for the first time in years, he saw himself clearly, and he didn't like what stared back. Underscore. Jeremiah didn't ask for a press tour. He only said yes once. To Annalise Fairbanks, a journalist known for exposing corruption with calm precision. She met him in a public library. You don't look like a man hungry for revenge, she said. I'm not, Jeremiah replied. I'm just tired of watching powerful men erase the ones who built the ground they walk on. He handed her a folder. Original patents. Handwritten drafts. Photos. Email chains showing how, piece by piece, his contributions were buried, then replaced. By the time the article dropped, the title said it all. The Ghost in the Machine, how one forgotten innovator built a billion-dollar empire and was erased. By noon, Crane Tech's shares dropped another 12%. Shareholders panicked. A crisis meeting was called. Damon stormed into the boardroom, red-faced. I built this company, he yelled. Eleanor Park didn't flinch. No one's denying you led it. But Jeremiah created it hard. The tech you scaled, he invented. That was decades ago. Legacies matter, Damon. Another member said, especially when your own legacy is starting to burn. Damon's voice cracked. I made it what it is. Eleanor leaned forward. But what if what you made never truly belonged to you? That night, Damon stayed late, trying to write a public statement. The janitor entered quietly to mop. Damon barely noticed until the man paused and said, "Funny, isn't it?" "What is?" "How quickly people remember forgotten when the world tells them they matter again." Damon looked up. The janitor smiled. "We've all been invisible once, Mr. Crane. Some of us still are." And with that, he kept mopping. Damon sat there, stunned. For the first time in years, he realized he hadn't talked to someone without giving orders in ages. Days later, Jeremiah appeared at a quiet tech conference. No security, no entourage. He stepped on stage to polite applause. By the time he was done sharing his story about the early days, the sacrifice, the heartbreak, people were crying, including Jules Renault, a venture capitalist known for rebuilding ethical tech brands. She met Jeremiah backstage. "Whatever happens with Crane Tech," she said, "if you want to build something new, I'll fund it." Jeremiah smiled faintly. "I'm not trying to burn the old house down, Jules." He looked past her. "I just want to show them who really laid the first brick." PR pressure mounted. So Damon gave in. He went on national television, sat stiffly under bright lights, and read a scripted apology. "I regret any past oversights that may have led to Mr. Quinn's contributions being understated." The host, Maya Trent, cut him off. "Mr. Crane, with respect, that sounds like legal fluff. Do you believe you owe Jeremiah Quinn this company?" Damon hesitated, just long enough, and in that silence, public opinion turned. Jeremiah visited an old, weathered house on the edge of the city, his childhood home. Inside was a chest. Inside the chest, his late wife's last letter. She'd written it before she passed. He hadn't been able to read it until now. "My dearest Jay, I know you'll try to hide from the world when I'm gone. But don't forget your gift. The world needs what you build. Don't let the pain swallow what we dreamed. One day, someone will try to bury you. But remember, buried seeds bloom stronger." Jeremiah folded the letter, and for the first time in years, he cried. At the next quarterly board session, Eleanor Park stood up mid-meeting. "I motion to vote on the immediate restoration of Jeremiah Quinn's founding rights." Murmurs. Damon's voice echoed. "This is illegal. He was gone 20 years. But not dead, not silent, and his contributions are now documented in public," she replied. The vote proceeded, and the count was brutal, 8-3, in favor. Jeremiah Quinn was reinstated as co-founder and executive chairman. Damon returned to his office to find the nameplate missing. Inside, the walls were bare. A letter waited on his desk. "Damon, you could have asked me to come back. You could have shared this stage. You could have remembered the people who helped you rise. Instead, you spat on the hands that built your throne. I don't hate you. I pity you. We all fall eventually. The lucky ones learn before the ground hits." Jeremiah, Crane Tech HQ. Hundreds gathered. Jeremiah stepped onto the stage. He looked healthier now, alive. He spoke of the early days, of Damon's drive, of his own breakdown and return. Then he said, "This isn't a victory speech. This is a reminder." He held up an old tool, a soldering iron from the first prototype they ever built. This changed the world, but not because it was perfect, because people dared to believe in it. He smiled. "Let's build again." Thunderous applause. And somewhere, watching from a nearby hotel TV, Damon turned off and stared at the floor. A week later, the same lobby, same marble floor, same morning rush. But this time, when Jeremiah walked in, dressed simply, humbly, people stood. The receptionist smiled. "Welcome back, Mr. Quinn." He nodded gently, then turned and saw a familiar figure outside, standing in the rain. Damon, soaked, holding nothing but a single suitcase. They locked eyes. Jeremiah walked over, said nothing, just opened the door, and let him in. Damon stepped inside Crane Tech's lobby like a man walking through ruins. People turned. Some whispered. Others looked away, not with scorn, but with something worse. Pity. His tailored suits were gone. His staff dissolved. His name no longer on any office. He approached the reception desk slowly. I have an appointment, he said, his voice rough with sleep and regret. The receptionist hesitated, then nodded. Yes, Mr. Quinn is expecting you. Jeremiah's new office was different. No corner views, no golden trophies, just bookshelves, prototypes, and one large photo on the wall. The original team in the garage. Jeremiah stood by the window, hand behind his back. When Damon entered, he didn't turn. Damon cleared his throat. I didn't come to beg. Jeremiah smiled faintly. That's good, because I wouldn't let you. Finally, he turned. Their eyes met. Two titans, one humbled, one reborn. I came to say I was wrong, Damon said quietly. You built this, and I tried to erase you. Jeremiah nodded slowly. I know. A long silence stretched. Then Damon said something he hadn't said in decades. I'm sorry. Jeremiah motioned for Damon to sit. I've been thinking, he said, about legacy, about healing. Damon looked up, surprised. I'm not offering you your job back. That part of the story is done. Damon nodded. I wouldn't take it if you did. But I'm offering you something better, Jeremiah continued. He slid a folder across the table. The Phoenix program, rebuilding ethical startups. It's time to use what we've learned to mentor others, not for profit, but for redemption. Damon looked down at the folder for a long time, then back up at Jeremiah. Why me? Jeremiah gave a soft, sad smile. Because if I can't forgive you, then I haven't really come back. After their meeting, Jeremiah returned home and opened a drawer he hadn't touched in years. Inside, a sealed letter addressed to Damon, from Jeremiah's wife, written before she passed. To Damon, if you're reading this, it means Jeremiah found his way back. You were always more than just a mentee to him. You were like the son we never had. He believed in you even when you stopped believing in yourself. Don't let the world harden your heart. Build and forgive. Lena. Jeremiah delivered the letter to Damon the next day. Neither man spoke. They didn't need to. 6 months later, a new company launched in a modest studio space. No marble, no suits, no egos, just ideas. Damon and Jeremiah sat side by side at a folding table. Young developers buzzed around them, and behind them, on the wall, hung a quote, "What we build matters, but who we become while building it matters more." The camera flashed as the press took their photo. And this time, it wasn't a comeback story. It was a rebirth. At Crane Tech headquarters, a bronze statue was unveiled in the courtyard. It wasn't Damon. It wasn't Jeremiah. It was a sculpture of 5 nameless workers, holding up a circuit board together. Underneath read, "No one builds alone." Employees gathered. Some wiped tears. Eleanor Park stood beside the statue, speaking to a new intern. "This is how you tell the truth," she said. In metal, in silence, in humility. Jeremiah visited a homeless shelter later that year. He knew the director well. She used to be one of the programmers he mentored in the early days. She smiled when she saw him. "They talk about you like you're a legend." He smiled. "Let them, but tell them I used to sleep in the alley behind 44th Street. He rolled up his sleeves and began serving lunch. And no one called him sir. They just said, "Thanks, brother." And he smiled, because that's who he really was. Annalise Fairbanks aired her final documentary about the saga. In the closing scene, she walked beside Jeremiah through the original garage space, now converted into a free tech school. "What do you hope people remember about this story?" she asked. Jeremiah paused, then replied, "That power without compassion corrodes. But truth? Truth rebuilds." She smiled. "And Damon?" He fell, but he stood back up. "That's all any of us can do." In the end, Jeremiah Quinn didn't destroy Damon. He did something more powerful. He forgave him. and in doing so, rebuilt not just a company, but a future, one where underdogs don't stay buried, where the erased are re-inked into history, where justice isn't vengeance, but restoration, and in a world that often forgets its builders, Jeremiah Quinn became the voice that reminded us all no one is too far gone to rise again,